purpose of this space is to create a very safe environment for people to share a moment of their lives. I am Winston Young. I am your host for tonight. And I was given back this mic that I handed out last October. And then pieces fell together to create this show that you are at right now. To give you a bit of insight as to what the show is about, I grew up with a massive dysfunctional belief that I needed permission to speak. And it kind of looked like this. Someone would be sitting there and you just stand very attentively waiting for your moment, and they would be annoyed that you're standing there waiting for a moment. You get your moment, and then they just sit back and said, okay, so I know that you've been waiting, so talk. And I'm sure you would understand at that moment, in your mind, you're like, well, you're not really listening to what I have to say. And then you don't say it. And then that little voice that you have just gets smaller and smaller and smaller and disappears. And then you grow into an adult, and then you want your voice to be heard, and you severely overcompensate. And I overcompensated in the way of wanting to be that guy that everyone shot in a photograph, wanted to be. It's like you wanted that superstardom. And I didn't understand I actually achieved that until someone came up to me and said, Winston, why do you always need to be photographed with whomever that may be? To me, that was just normal until I finally started doing some personal development work and realized that all that was born from this belief that I needed permission to speak and that no one was listening. And if they wanted to listen, no one really cared. So I just kept that message inside of me. So the purpose of this space is to create a very safe environment for people to share a moment of their lives. There's no theme involved. The people that come up here have selected a story on their own, and they're going to share it with us to connect your heart to their heart, to create a connection and to create community within this space, and then have it grow as the shows go on.
Open 7 days a week, located at the south end of the Pattullo Bridge at 12375 King George Boulevard in Surrey.
Foodie World has 75,000 square feet of imported and domestic products, with a large selection dedicated to our Filipino kababayans. With an in-house butcher, variety of seafood, and produce from around the globe. Open every day until midnight. Foodie World, 1 block east of number 3 Road off Sea Island Way in Richmond. Located 1 block north of St. Paul's Hospital, Downtown Denture Center features complete and partial teeth restoration options. With 35 years experience, Anthony Chung offers mobile services and emergency repair consultation 24 hours a day. Downtown Denture Center, just off Nelson at 970 Burrard in the lobby of the Electra building.
So 72 hours ago, as I'm preparing for this show, an individual decided that this show should not exist. So instead of speaking to me about it and working things out, they chose to take a plan of action through fear and intimidation and have my speakers pull out by scaring them with untruth. And it really bothered me because I know if someone wants to not like me, that's perfectly fine. I know a whole bunch of people on this planet that hate my guts, right? And I'm used to it. But if the issue was with me, then speak to me. You don't have to go and involve people that are not directly involved. And the part that really pained me was when I got an update from speakers that were contacted, and it ruined their day. It caused them psychological and emotional stress. And it carried on for the next couple of days. And it really bugged me that instead of dealing it as like an adult, they have chosen to take a course of action that I just define as being a bully, using fear and intimidation to get what they want because they fear that you're doing something they don't want to do. They are losing control of you, and the only way to get control is to go and sabotage what you're trying to create. So with that being said, I looked at my whole purpose of this, and it galvanized my resolve that this space needs to exist. Here's someone that goes, I don't want you to speak, who is trying to scare someone into not sharing their message, into being silent, and by doing so, withholding a moment of their lives that they're gifting to other people. And I go, that's not right. And by looking at this, I go, you know what? Everything that you have done has proven to me that this has to happen. So it's happening, and that's why we're all here. And I thank you for coming to support this night. So now that I got that out of the way, I feel a lot better. And before I put my infamous party hat on, I'm going to put out a few announcements. There is photography and video recording allowed, but I do ask that you refrain from doing it for the sole purpose that these people coming on stage are freaked out enough and they don't need a camera recording them as they move around. And if you do take a picture, please turn off the flash so you don't distract them and they lose their train of thought. The second thing is a trigger warning. All of the stories are personal in nature, and some of them might encroach on very dark topics of abuse, addiction, self-harm, things that might trigger you. So if you get triggered and you need a timeout, there's a beautiful lounge at the back and around the corner. You can go there, give yourself a timeout. Okay, so I'm going to put this hat on. So give me a second to put this hat on, and we'll get the show started. Okay. Yay, now we can get going. But to rewind a bit, I told you about me going through high school and then going through all that, we'll call it a beatdown, a mental beatdown that happens all the time, and it changes you. I'm sure some of you even experienced it yourself. You go into university and now you're unshackled into a world that I was ill prepared for. So what do? I had no idea. But I do know by going through that process that my perception of the world was very, very skewed. Like when I say, like it was skewed to a point that until my sister pointed out to me, some of the things that I said, I wasn't even aware of how nasty it stung. I thought it was funny. I thought my wit was humorous, but it could be if you're on the right side of the lash. Otherwise, it stung. And people would sit there and grit their teeth and they smile. And I thought, great, this is just how life is. Until I started to realize, after doing a whole bunch of personal work, how much I was burning everything that I touched. And how much this trauma, as innocent as it was from everyone that was dishing it out to me, really changed my outlook on how everything is. And it took a lot of work to undo it. But now that I can see what it can do and how you can change, I have been given a gift to be able to see that, to become aware of this. But I invite my next speaker on stage to share her story of her journey to this point in time and her story of what perception means. Alison Donaghey.
Heritage Education Funds is one of Canada's RESP providers. They've worked with 500,000 Canadian citizens towards achieving their post-secondary education. Contact Heritage Education Funds at 604-327-1411.
Surrey Honda features a large selection of previously owned vehicles. Finance and lease rates are available 7 days a week. The parts and service department is only closed Sundays, and there's multilingual staff on site. At Surrey Honda, 15291 Fraser Highway, 1 block east of 152nd. Foodie World presents Philippine Street, featuring a large selection of Filipino foods. From imported non-perishable products to both packaged seafood and locally caught and very much alive. Foodie World is 75,000 square feet of worldly groceries situated in North Richmond.
Far West Financial and Insurance Agency, offering life, health, and critical illness insurance which covers cancer, heart attacks, and strokes. Please call Leo D for more information.
Open 7 days a week, Kingsgate Mall features shops for both men's and women's clothing, women's fashions and accessories, and footwear for everyone, prescription glasses and contact lenses, as well as shopping for his and her jewelry. Kingsgate Mall on East Broadway at Kingsway.
High school was not a good time for me. There are some people who want nothing more than to go back to high school. I am not one of those people. I learned an awful lot about life, and I learned a lot about me, but I'm not prepared to go back. When I was 14, I felt quite ostracized. I had moved from province to province. I was in a new school, and I never quite adapted to being in this new environment with people I didn't know. I felt like I had no friends, and I felt like I totally just didn't belong anywhere. And a girl that I went to school with said to me, "Hey, why don't you come to my youth group? We meet at our church on the weekend." And I said, "Wow, somebody wants to hang out with me. This is good." So I went, and there was this guy there. There's always a guy. And he was just so charismatic. Like, he had command of the entire room. Everybody just really was wanting to be around him, and it kind of helped that he was cute. And then he came over to talk to me. And I thought, oh my God, he's talking to me? And I had this warped sense of gratitude that I was somehow worthy because this guy was coming to talk to me. And so we talked all night, and he said to me, well, do you want to go out on a date? And I'm like 14, he was like 17, he was already living on his own. And I'm like, yeah, I want to go on a date, because I'm thinking this is going to get me some cool points. This is going to get me to a place where people are going to look at me and go, wow, look what she has. So I went home, lied to my parents, and so he came and picked me up. And I said, like, this is great, thank you. And I still had this sense of gratitude. And he said to me, he goes, do you mind if we go back to my place first? I just got off work, and I just want to have a shower and get cleaned up before we go out. And I went, well, that's kind of weird, but sure. Like, what do I know? I'm 14. I don't date. This is new. Maybe this is how normal people do it. So get in his car, we go to his place. He has a shower, and he comes out without a top on, and he says, I'm just kind of tired. Can we just like stay in and watch a movie, and I'll order in some food? And I started feeling really uncomfortable. And I thought, like, do I just leave? Do I phone somebody to come and pick me up? And I thought, well, if I leave, then how do I go back to this youth group? How do I hang out with these people who, I want to belong with? My friend won't think I'm cool if I just ditch this guy, and I don't want to be a coward. I want to hang out with this guy. So I talked myself into staying, and I shouldn't have. So it's no wonder with this hashtag #MeToo that's going on out there that I am going to have some thoughts around it. And really, I have a lot of mixed feelings. I really don't know what it's trying to achieve. I'm not clear. Is it trying to create an empowerment for women? And if so, is it actually doing it? Is it actually making us more empowered, or is it giving us the illusion of being empowered? Because that's two very, very different things. I want hashtag #MeToo to really step into creating clarity around what is sexual assault, what is sexual harassment. I don't know. Like, I don't know if you guys know. I don't think I'm clear. Is it Is it catcalling? Is it simply the way I might feel about a situation? And as a woman, if I don't understand, how can I expect men to understand? Who is going to make it right and understandable for them? So I have a lot of conversations with my son and other men in my life, and I think, I don't know how to explain this to them in a way that they won't cross a line without knowing it's been crossed. So if somebody calls me sweetheart, I'm like, all right, this is nice. I'll take some of that love. This is good. The next woman might think it's sexual harassment. So does that guy say nothing to anybody that might be construed as either nice or sexual harassment? Where is that line? So I don't get anybody to call me sweetheart anymore because somebody else over there might get offended. So men are in this really ugly place of not being able to understand what's going on. And there has been this, like, it's not okay for men to want to yield power over women. But now we've reversed that, and now these women are yielding power over men, and we're not even telling what the rules are, because we don't even know these rules. So how can we be empowered by a movement when we don't understand the rules? And then you have this movement, which moves into another movement, which creates more us and them situations, and there's a more polarization that goes on. And pretty soon, we don't know how to talk to each other anymore because we're on opposing sides or perceived opposing sides of an issue. So what do? How do we have conversations? And then we agree to this movement, and then it's really easy for us to slide into this movement or this movement without knowing what any of them are actually trying to achieve. So what do we do with them? We have these movements that are now replacing criminal justice. With every other crime, there is due process. You accuse somebody, you go to court, you present evidence. But not with these movements. These movements, you just have this, the public deciding on what's okay and what's not okay. And lives are being ruined, whether people are guilty or not. And we think this is a good thing. We think this is progress somehow. So in high school, I didn't say anything. And I should have said something, but I didn't. Because I didn't think I was going to be believed. And back then, I probably would not have been believed. Here's a nice Christian boy. Everybody loves him. And then there's me who has no friends. So if I could have gone back and done things differently, I would have trusted myself. I would have put some faith in the value that I have as a human being to not put myself in a situation like that. But I didn't have that value. And I often wonder, how many more women did this man do things to? And is that my responsibility? See, I think it's really important to understand our part in things. And this is not about placing blame. This is not about blaming the victim. And this is not about saying what this guy did to me was okay. This is about understanding this dance that happens when we engage in relationships, and all types of relationships, whether it's work relationships or marriages or adults and children, or any time we have an interaction, there is a dance. And I had to spend a lot of time thinking about what my part in that dance was. And it's this accountability piece that has moved me to a place of being okay with what happened, moving to a place of forgiveness and empowerment. You see, it's not a hashtag that's going to empower me. It's my ability to look at my part. So I spent time with it. And I realized that I was using this guy to gain status. I was using this guy to get some cool points. And he was using me for all of his own reasons in his own way. So when we look at our part in things, we can actually start seeing the whole picture. I didn't deserve to be raised. Nobody deserves that. But until I look at how that situation is, how do I have conversations with other people about what's going on and what happened? I really think when there's a big difference between some 5-year-old being assaulted. There's a big difference between somebody walking down the road on their way home from school and having a van pull up and take them away in the for 3 days. Those aren't the situations I'm talking about. Those are an entirely different level of assault. What I'm talking about is the interaction that most women that I speak to have experienced. But these movements say it's okay for us to just point blame, to just look at the other person and say, oh, well, it's all their fault. It wasn't all this guy's fault. Is he a douche for doing what he did? Yeah, but it wasn't his fault. Not entirely. I put myself there. I participated. And we have these witch hunts. And since the beginning of time, a witch hunt has not accomplished anything. But we point these fingers and we don't even think about the collateral damage that happens. And I think we need to spend some time in that arena. If we are going to follow a cause, we have to understand the flip side of that cause. And what is the damage that's being done? I don't want to be a part of a process that is creating this collateral damage. And some of these men are just being treated that way. And when I was in high school, I was treated like collateral damage, and I didn't like it. We need to start seeing how, when we get on board with something, it is impacting those other things around us. It is there that we start building connection, that we start understanding the experiences of other people. And I wish for all of you just to take the time to think about what it is that you are supporting and to consider being part of the problem, or part of the solution, not part of the problem. And I'm not saying that #MeToo is the problem, but I'm not entirely sure it's the solution. And I would like you to take a few moments to think about what you think about.
Alison Donaghey.
I gotta do a little bit of prop setup first.
And she has no notes. That's amazing.
Well, no, I have them there. Oh. So, 15 years ago, my life changed. I became a mom. And the moment that my son Sean was born, I knew this world became a better place. Sean, how can I describe him? He was curious, mischievous, active as hell, and kept me on my toes. But most importantly for me, Sean was compassionate. Sean was the type of kid who hugged everybody. Sean was also the type of kid that if there were dandelions all in the park, he'd pick them out and he'd give them to every single stranger he saw. Sean was also the same kid. He would pick up a pot of dirt, sticks, a bunch of sticks in it, like poke a bunch of sticks in it, hop over to anybody, like his grandmother, and sing, "Happy birthday to you!" Every bug, every single bug was gently picked up and put back on a leaf, regardless if it needed to be there or not. That's my Sean. When Sean was 4 years old, he and I were walking home, or actually walking back to the SkyTrain station after a concert, and it was a busy street. And as we were walking down, he looks down and he sees a young lady sitting on the sidewalk with her head down. In front of her legs was a sign. Now, Sean, being 4, he was at an age where he's learning how to read, and he loved every opportunity to point out words when he could. Mommy, that says help. Good job, Sean. Good job reading.
Open 7 days a week, located at the south end of the Pattullo Bridge at 12375 King George Boulevard in Surrey.
Located 1 block north of St. Paul's Hospital, Downtown Denture Center features complete and partial teeth restoration options. With 35 years experience, Anthony Chung offers mobile services and emergency repair consultation 24 hours a day. Downtown Denture Center, just off Nelson at 970 Burrard in the lobby of the Electra Building.
Welcome po sa Surrey Mitsubishi, Surrey's only Mitsubishi dealership. Marami kaming selection from all makes and models, and all trade-ins are welcome. Garantisado ang financing, plus meron kaming certified warranty technicians for all your services and repairs. Matatagpuan sa 104 and 138 and at surreymitsubishi.com.